Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the SHEILAMACSHOW, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC'S KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the SHEILAMACSHOW, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have special guest Patrick Coombs. He has coached 120 CEOs to realign with their greatest gifts and deepest purpose and to reinvent themselves for their next great chapter in their life. Additionally, for 25 years, he has shared his stories and strategies with millions of people around the globe as a motivational speaker and an expert on the pursuit of passion. Today, he is one of the only people in the world to have accomplished both a Hall of Fame speaking career and a comedic smash hit one-man theater show. And to that, Patrick is a 5-time author with more than 150,000 copies of his book sold. And you have a person who has overcome the odds and demonstrated what's possible when you lead your life with heart, passion, and purpose. He is here today to talk about his latest book, Purpose Code, Maximize Your Joy and Astound Yourself, and his company, Bliss Champions. All right. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Hey, thanks, Sheila. I'm excited to be here with you.
Yes, it's so good to see you again. So this show actually got started based on my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. There it is. The formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. I wrote it right before our pandemic. So we have had some situations that I couldn't even imagine. And yet it very much applies. And this show is based on that theory of getting back on track after a tough situation. So I'd love for you to share about a time in your business or personal life where you experienced a tough situation and how you got back on track.
Oh, okay, great. And congratulations on your book. I remember when it came out. Time in my life when I was off track. Well, I would say the biggest one was when I was, I'd already known what alignment with my purpose and my greatest gifts and my joy was. And I had been living that for a decade through speaking, at least. And then I drifted off course because I had an idea that seemed pretty good, and it was to make a software company. And so I endeavored for 4 years, Sheila. Really, I set everything else aside, and I worked for 4 years on a software company. And it just kept near missing and near missing and near missing. And near missing meant it wasn't killing. It was justifying itself financially, just barely, meaning I wasn't able to draw a salary. Any money we made went back into the software company. And at the end of 4 years, it left me scratching my head saying, why doesn't this thing work? Like, it's not working. I poured myself into it. I'm not making money here. I'm not over the moon about our results. I'm not feeling joyful and alive and great. It's time to quit this thing. And that was, so, it's not a story of completely falling apart. It's a story about misfiring for 4 years. And the key was I was misaligned with my greatest gifts and my deepest purpose. And the lesson was I need to know exactly where my purpose is. And I need to know exactly, and I need to always stay aligned with leading from my greatest gifts. And even though the software company was a good idea and a pretty good fit for who I am, when you're either in extraordinary alignment or you're not. And so So I got back into alignment, Sheila, with my gifts. And once I got back in alignment with my gifts, everything started to flourish again. I started to make the money again. I started to feel my most alive, and to experience my greatest joys. So, look, in a nutshell, I would tell someone, look, I learned it's not aligned for me to be behind the scenes building a great software company. That's not, for some reason, that's not my purpose or my alignment.
Right.
But as soon as I get in front again and I'm coaching people to give their greatest gifts, I'm in alignment with who I was born to be, and the universe supports it.
Yes. Yes, that's so true. So how did you find this purpose? How did you get into alignment? What was that? Was it just one step at a time, or did you know what the purpose was and you're ignoring it, or how did that happen?
For someone to come in alignment with their purpose, the primary tool is to reflect backwards on where your life really worked, and where at the intersection of where your life seems to really work, because you've already experienced your purpose. Everybody's already experienced their purpose. Their purpose has always been there their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you do is you do a backwards investigation, and you're looking for the clues. And the primary two clues are, wow, my life was really working and I was really sourcing joy.
Yes.
It's at the intersection of those two things. So for me, it was looking back and saying, Patrick, when was your life really working? It was like, when I'm on stages,
Yeah.
my life really works, and I'm at maximum joy. So then I just give it a word. Like, what word would you give to your purpose? I'd say, and it's easy to give a couple words to your purpose once you spot it. And then there's this magical effect that happens, and I'll tell you about it after this. But my two words were, my one word is, if I'm on stage and I'm there to uplift people, things really work in my life.
Yes.
So uplifting has something to do with my purpose. It's like the stamp of God said, hey, we're making this model to uplift.
Yep.
But there were other words that I could apply to it that are also close. They map the territory, like to inspire or entertain. But see, inspiring and entertain have uplifting in common.
Mm-hmm.
And the only other word I can give to my purpose is, it has a lot to do with uplifting through performance. But that's being on stage as a speaker or an entertainer. Now, I told you there's a magical effect to when you identify the words that are kind of stamped on your soul. And they are the kind of the label for your purpose. When you identify those words and you say, I guess I'm just here to do that, you will quickly see, you can then look back in your life and say, God, it's always been there, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's always been there. That has always been an imprint on my soul that's kind of been tugging at me and nudging me to be that person, to be that version of myself. That's alignment with your purpose. Now, the beautiful thing is, when you align with your purpose, there are multiple avenues that you can unfold and live your purpose, how to live your purpose out. There's not just one thing to do, but it means you're playing to your greatest gifts. You're playing to your God-given strengths. You're just choosing it, at various chapters in your life, you're choosing which vehicle to drive in.
Yes.
But you're always headed the same direction. So Sheila, for me, it meant, hey, you know what? I got too far away from my purpose of being a performer of sorts who is here to uplift other people. So I returned to speaking, and I started the company. I co-founded the company Bliss Champions. And so Bliss, both are vehicles where I, through speaking, can uplift other people and get them in alignment with who they were born to be.
Yes, that's beautiful. That is so, and it's so true. No matter what you do, like for my own personal life, I always found myself leading groups and working with people and inspiring people in my own way. And I mean, I had gift stores as this young 23 to 25-year-old kid. and just opening these stores. And my passion, my heart of those stores was these kids. So I had these children that were coming out of like foster care, girls and boys homes, and they had nobody wanted to hire them. And I had close to 200 children, young adults, that went through my training program. My business did incredibly well. I was really good at, gifts and retail, but my heart was those kids and helping people. And I think the community feels that. So even if you're placed in something, you think, well, this doesn't look like the box that I'm supposed to be in, but it is when you apply it. So,
when you apply it, so beautifully illustrated. So maybe we could just say it this way for the people listening. What I'm positive from life experience, not only my own, but helping other people now, is the universe is making you for a purpose. The universe makes each person and gives them a specialty. That specialty is this beautiful intersection of what you are gifted to do that brings you joy.
Right.
But I'm positive that the universe doesn't just print blank random people and say, oh, you're capable of anything. We're all capable of anything, but we're all designed for something special. And that something special is every person has a unique gift to give. And when you say, when you identify that unique gift at the intersection of you do it well and it brings you great joy, and then you just live from that, you lean into that, you trust that's what you should do with your life, you should leverage that, then life goes very different. It goes better.
Yes, and easier. I feel like I kept getting realigned when things didn't work out because it wasn't what I was supposed to do. It was what people told me I was supposed to do, to make money. And the only time I didn't really make money was when I chased it. The rest of the time it just showed up because I was just helping people and doing my thing. And so it's about letting go of that. The preconceived how we do it, I think, has a lot to do with it. You already know what it is, but how do you apply it? So, Patrick, I'd like to know, tell me, if I were to join your program, what would that look like? Can you give me an example of how that looks?
Our program, Bliss Champions, is designed very specifically for high-level entrepreneurs or CEOs. And high level means that the people that come to us have accomplished big things. They're not beginners at success. A lot of times they're sitting on top of very large companies that they created. Okay. And if it's not a very large company, it's still a very successful one. But what they all have in common, and the reason we exist, is people build these towers and everybody views them as the most successful person in their circle. And for a while, the building of that tower was extraordinarily satisfying. But there comes a point in every entrepreneur or CEO's journey where they're privately, secretly experiencing the feeling that something is missing. And that something has a lot to do with a couple things. They feel like, isn't it supposed to be more joyful than this? How did I build something so remarkable and yet I'm not ecstatic? I'm not truly joyful. And sometimes I like to say, how come you can build something really remarkable and tremendously successful, but the guide in the back of your rafting, your white water rafting, boat is much happier than you? Right? Because we all deserve that same level of happiness, especially if we build something significant. We should be as happy as the guide is the river guide.
Yes.
So, and then the other thing that CEOs, and there was a survey in 2015 done on 200 CEOs, and those 200 CEOs privately reported that 50% of them said were aware that they're not utilizing their greatest gifts. There's something about building a company that can take you away from your gifts because you become responsible for so many people, and you become responsible for all the things that are hard that need to be solved. And when you reach that place, that's where you might intersect with Bliss Champions, because Bliss Champions says, we understand. We understand that other people don't understand. And we have a process for getting you back to giving your greatest gifts and experiencing your real joy. But our process is specialized to protect these individuals from having to lose what they worked so hard to build, or having to go backwards, or having to make very difficult choices, because their map is, hey, I've built something significant. But when someone gets involved with the Sheila, now to be able to sort of more didactically answer your question, they're involved in a very small curated group of 6 to 8 other individuals like themselves, and through coaching and a retreat, an extraordinarily intense, joyful retreat in Hawaii, they emerge on the other side of those complex problems, and they are realigned with their purpose, and they have a plan to utilize their greatest gifts.
Incredible.
Or as Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss.
Yes.
And we introduce them to what exactly he meant by follow your bliss. And we help them identify where is their bliss calling them into the next great chapter of their life without going backwards.
Mm-hmm. So really you can have both.
We don't use the word. Yeah, we eliminate the word or, because it's a mindset a lot of our clients bring to us is, well, you're asking me to do this or this. And we're like, no, we're asking you to do this and this plus things together in your life.
Yes. So it's a synergistic integration
of
life purpose and what you're already doing, and just creating something even better.
You know, wow. Joseph Campbell is the guy who articulated the hero's journey, as you know. Mm-hmm. So anytime you hear a reference to the hero's journey, that's Joseph Campbell's material. And Joseph Campbell was a scholar and a professor and a renowned author. And so somebody once asked Joseph, and Joseph Campbell is the one who popularized the phrase, who invented the phrase, follow your bliss, and which was infinitely more popular in the 70s, fell out of popularity in the 80s and the 90s, but is still an extraordinary directive in life, is to follow your bliss. But Bill Moyers once asked him, what is your bliss? What do you mean by bliss? And his definition was really simple. He said, that which brings you joy. Mm. Like, find what brings you joy and stick to that was his directive. Now, although that seems simplistic, it's very difficult for 99% of people on earth to truly embrace and discern. We're not a culture that is steeped in a value of joy. We're a culture that's steeped in a value of money and a value of significance. And there's nothing wrong with significance, and there's nothing wrong with money. But when they're done at the expense of joy, everybody hits a wall and says, I've got money, I've got significance. Is that all there is? So when they asked Joseph Campbell, who articulated the hero's journey, what is the ultimate meaning of the hero's journey? When the hero goes on this quest, following their bliss, leaving home, meeting with mentors, crossing the desert, rising to the occasion, what is the quest for?
Right.
It brings about great treasures. And Joseph Campbell's answer was profound. And it's true for all of us, because we're all on our own hero's journey. He said, the hero's journey is a quest for aliveness.
Yes.
The hero's greatest reward is aliveness. When our clients come to us because something in them feels deadened, and when they leave us, they are reconnected to aliveness. And that aliveness is that feeling where you go, I'm passionate, I'm in alignment, I'm purposeful, I'm giving my greatest gifts, I'm loving life, and I feel connected to the people around me. So that, on the face, follow your bliss sounds like a simple directive, but there are many obstacles to that simple but profound directive, and they're complex. So we handle the complexity of making that internal and external shift to what is truly joyful and purposeful and aligned for a purpose, for a person that operates at a very high level.
Yes. Wow. That sounds incredible and so important. Now, for those listening in, what do you have this book out? Is the book connected to what you're doing now, the new book? Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. So this is a great way to start with reading this book.
Yeah, the book is actually was written 3 years into running the company. So it is based on the experience we've had with 120 clients and our own life experience. My partner and I, my partner is an epic entrepreneur who is a 9-figure entrepreneur who has built 20 companies, several of them global. I myself, if you will, have had a very strong solopreneur career as a Hall of Fame speaker, as a stage comedian with a one-person show, as a best-selling author, and a coach and strategist for major corporations. So together we wrote the book Purpose Code. The subtitle on the book is Maximize Your Joy and Astound Yourself. So when the hero goes on the journey to their bliss, they end up astounding themselves, which is a feeling of great aliveness. The book will take any individual, whether you're a CEO or not. It will take any individual and it will help you follow our process. It unfolds our process for how do you figure out what your purpose is? What is bliss? How do you know where your bliss is calling you? How do you get past the limiting beliefs that rear their ugly head for everybody? And then how do you actually bring that around to a step-by-step plan for moving forward? And what are the major pitfalls that everybody falls into? And I'd like to offer one of those pitfalls right away. Okay.
Yes.
So when somebody gets excited about these concepts, which hopefully everybody listening does, hopefully everybody would like to be in alignment with their greatest joy and their greatest gifts, right? And what they were born to do. It's a very sweet spot to run your life from. But when you're new to it, and if you do happen to on your own to discern this is where my bliss and my joy is calling me, the number one mistake that everybody makes is rushing into what we call the snake pit of how. They dive too quickly into how they're going to do it. And that is probably the number one pitfall that will stop people from getting to fully actualize what would be a blissful career move for themselves. The how you're going to do it should actually come about 6 steps later, after a full investigation of a lot of other things. And if you do the how too early, the number one thing you're probably going to do is choose the wrong vehicle to move forward in and find yourself desiring to quit your bliss because you chose the wrong vehicle to do it in. Does that make sense? A lot of people on this call have experienced getting excited about something and then rushing into it only to conclude, oh, I got falsely excited. But the truth is you didn't get falsely excited. You got appropriately excited about where your purpose and your bliss intersect, but you rushed to how you wanted to implement it too soon. So if someone reads the book, they'll say, oh, what are the steps in between discerning my bliss and deciding how to execute on it?
Very good.
15 different characters in the show. I, play the old man or the young woman or my mother or my brother or the bank security officer or the lawyer. And so it was acting and showing some slides is sort of the documentary element of it. But most of all, just taking the audience on the journey of a true experience from my life so that they could experience it with me in real time. And it won many top comedy awards. I got unbelievable invitations to perform in the 2 most rarefied comedy events on the planet, One is HBO's Comedy Festival in the United States of America. I was invite only, so there I was performing with the likes of Jack Black and Joe Rogan and Chris Rock and Jim Carrey and Sarah Jessica Parker. I couldn't believe I was standing around those people. And then to perform in Just for Laughs, the #1 comedy festival in the world. And as I said, I toured it for 15 years, and that's what the show was about, was telling the audience an extraordinary story. I have a book on it. Yeah. The book is currently published under the title Cash Me If You Can, because Hollywood is attempting to make it into a movie. Cash Me If You Can.
Nice. Yes. And I actually attended one of those shows that you did a while back. So yeah.
Oh, Sheila, you came down to Oceanside.
I did.
Oh,
so I did get to see that show. It was incredible. Yes. So well done. So that was you, and this is you now, still following your bliss and helping people. And so that is really incredible. And you also have a book. It was more of a parenting book. And that book is my flippin' favorite. So could you share a little bit about that book? About it's like your relationship with your son and this whole...
I love that you interpret that book. Is called When You Are Bursting. Yes. When You Are Bursting. And I love that you interpreted that book as a parenting book. That's really, really wonderful for me to hear. That is a book of 40 personal, true stories from my life.
Yeah.
Any category. They were just stories that I thought, well, I'm a storyteller at heart. This is a story I would like to share. But you're right, because I'm a father of 2. At least half the stories in that book are about parenting.
Yes. And I loved that. That was like my favorite, because I have 6 now grown children. So I was like, I get that. And this story that I mean, I was laughing and crying all by myself reading your book. So
I'm waiting for our connection to reestablish itself here in a second. It just took a hiccup.
It does that sometimes.
Let me see. We've connection so far, and
you're back. I see you.
You're frozen on the screen, so if I'm unresponsive to your questions, Sheila, it's because currently you're frozen on the screen, but my screen is working very hard to refresh yours.
Connection for yours. I don't know. Let's reestablish that. And I got into my own little stories about my own, how it kept showing up for me. Things, the bliss, following the bliss, and how it keeps showing up in your life. No matter where I was placed, there I was doing that same thing. So
yeah, beautiful. Right? That our purpose, we can always execute on our purpose, no matter what circumstance we're in. At Bliss Champions, what we like people to understand, though, is you can be conscious about where you desire blissfully to apply your purpose to. Right? Your purpose remains a constant through your whole life. Where your bliss calls you changes. It evolves. For instance, my first bliss calling was to go into inspirational speaking. But then later on, it evolved. After 13 years, it said it would be really joyful. I feel called to go into the theater world also. It wasn't an or, it was I'd like to add the theater world to my career. And so that's why we say, look, your bliss calls you to new chapters of your life, but your purpose remains constant.
Yes.
Sheila, what I know, you've referenced it, but what I know of you, and I'd like to sort of double down on your audience for, is Sheila's purpose has something very entirely to do with helping children who need help. No matter where Sheila goes, her purpose leads her and rewards her for lifting children up and giving them the support that they're missing.
Thank you. Yes, this is so true. And it is such a gift to be able to work with people, especially young people, and do that. So I'd love to hear, Patrick, one more time, because we are actually coming to the end of our time, about where people can get the book. And then for those who are looking for your full program, how they can apply to that program.
Thanks. Would love to receive anybody's application for Bliss Champions. If you go to blisschampions.com, you'll see right on the front page of it that we're accepting applications. And there's, it just means that you're you're jumping on a phone call with myself or my wonderful business partner, Eric, and we're just getting to know each other. My books are all available on Amazon.com, and the best way to find them would be to just start by entering my name, Patrick Combs, and that'll show you a list of the 5 books I've written.
All right. All right. Thank you again, Patrick, for being a guest on the show. And for those tuning in, we'll be back after these messages, so stay tuned.
Thanks, Sheila.
Organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. To order, please visit lovemysupertea.com. That's love, L-O-V-E, my, M-Y, super, SUPERTEA.com. So the complete website is lovemysupertea.com, or call 818-288-4128, Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, California time. That's lovemysupertea.com at 818-288-4128.
Instead of starting out with a rock bottom moment and ending with that person's moment of empowerment, we are going to compare the lives of 2 women. The life of Anne. Anne was very athletic growing up. As a young adult, she was active and healthy and loved to exercise. She helped rescue animals, volunteering at the local shelter to share her love with those animals. Then, she got married and had kids. Anne gave up a lot of her passions and the things that made her happy in order to please everybody else. Her husband is allergic to animal dander, so she couldn't have pets at home, and she gradually stopped going to the shelter too. She didn't stay as active as she'd been when she was single. She said yes to all her friends, doing anything they asked her to. She cared for a lot of people, but she didn't set boundaries. Anne's days were long and busy, full, but not fulfilling. Anne had a vision of how she wanted her life to look, but she woke up one day and realized that she was living a very different life. Eventually, Anne's health failed. She developed many health issues because she had stopped eating healthy foods, exercising, and taking time to rest her mind. She spent a lot of money on health care instead of spending time staying healthy. When she really needed people to help her, she didn't know how to ask. Some of her friends had more boundaries than Anne, so they said no to her requests, even though in the past she had helped them move or with accounting or babysitting. People weren't willing to give as much as she had, so she was at a loss. And with some of the people in her life who did want to reciprocate, Anne wasn't able to be vulnerable or gracious enough to receive. Anne is at the point of retiring from a job she doesn't love, and she's physically and financially unable to keep up with her friends and family. She sees her friends doing work they're passionate about and talented at, and it affects her self-worth when she compares her life to theirs. She feels stuck, upset, and resentful, and she's angry with herself for letting life slip by. Anne thought she was doing the right things. She was a good student, a good daughter and sibling, the one who didn't need so much attention. She was taught to put everybody else first, and she's done an amazing job of teaching everybody else to treat her like a doormat. She never filled up her own self, and now she has a very painful void in her life. The life of Barbara. Barbara has designed her life and lives it by her design. She has still done things for other people, but she follows her own definition of happiness and success. Interesting things happened in her childhood, but at some point, she decided that she was going to live life on her terms. Barbara made a lot of mistakes. She tried to live her passion 3 or 4 different times in different ways.
It didn't work out at first, but she was determined. At first, she wasn't even sure what that looked like, but she knew it would involve art, dance, and educating children. As it unfolded, she started teaching children to read and created a story time program. Looking back, she laughs about her ups and downs. The determination to live her life and work around her passion and her gifts was considered non-traditional, so she experienced some bumps that made her strong and resilient. Barbara kept solid rituals, routines, and boundaries in place. She eats healthy foods and takes care of herself so she can help other people too. She made her self-care a priority, knowing that she was modeling that for her children. Barbara and Anne are the same age, but Barbara looks much younger because she's healthier and happier. She wakes up in the morning and is excited to go to work. When Barbara looks back at her life so far, she's at peace. She knows she's done her highest good. No part of her feels that she wasted time on things that didn't align with her values. She lives exactly the life she was supposed to, the life she chooses. And she's excited for whatever comes next. You only get one. Anne has lived her whole life based on what other people wanted, whereas Barbara has lived life for herself. And it's still full of love and other people. Which life would you choose? Maybe you choose a little of each. These are extreme examples, so maybe you choose neither. The point is that it's your life and you get to choose what it looks like. Anne didn't choose to design her own life, but it's not too late. It's not over for her. It doesn't matter what your age is. Until you're not here anymore, you can still make a change. The rest of your life can become the best part of your life. All the decisions you make have an impact on your future, on your whole life. They build upon each other. If you don't decide how you're going to live your life, somebody else is going to decide for you, and most people are happy to do that. They're happy to sell you the wrong house so they can make a commission. They're happy to put you in a job you don't like for less pay so you do all the work. But if you're not happy, it's not a blessing. I'm not a Christian Scientist, but Mary Baker Eddy, the founder of Christian Science movement, said, "Whatever blesses one, blesses all." If you're not happy, or if you're not living your essence, your truth, your life, it's hard for you to send happiness to other people in your life. But when you are happy and using your talents and gifts, there's no competition. There's no ego. You're just connected to everything and everybody in love, and it's beautiful. Everyone has that beauty in them, in the way they're here and who they are. We're all amazing, talented, beautiful, incredible people in our own right. When we try to shift and fit into a mold of who we believe we're supposed to be, the adult who never plays, who goes to work and takes on debt to buy a house, it kills our souls. Every day we lose sight of who we really are. How can you be happy when the most important parts of you are hidden or quieted because you followed somebody else's rules? How many people have felt like they had to go to school to become a doctor or a lawyer just because their parents wanted them to? And they're miserable. If they were living their truth, they would be happy, and that's worth even more than money. That allows them to attract the right peer group and a partner who's aligned with their truth. It may sound obvious, but when you're not living your truth, you're living a lie. When that's the case, you may say that you want something, but it doesn't align with you because it's not real. And you can't fake a life and a lie for long. The real you, the beautiful, amazing essence of you, is going to escape every time. Free your soul. It's time to free your soul. Start by figuring out your temperament, talents, and what you really love. You can refer back to the reboot activity in Chapter 6 to get started. There are surveys and tests you can take, but you have to be honest with your answers. So honest it may even hurt other people's feelings. Like the parents who always dreamed of you becoming a doctor while you wanted to be a cruise ship comedian. Doing this will free your soul to go be who you're really supposed to be. And when you are living the life you're supposed to, you're going to help people in your own way. You're going to live your purpose because that's just who you are. When you're fully living, you're able to fully contribute to society. Although you're doing more self-care, although you're just living your truth and your essence on your terms, you're going to serve far more people. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. Finding your truth and designing your life based on that truth and your passion serves a higher purpose and a higher good. It serves humanity far more than doing what you or others believe you're supposed to do. So it's actually the least self-centric thing you could ever do. Sheila's story. When my kids were old enough to go to school, and I was making cash flow from renting out the buildings my stores were in, I decided I wanted to be more involved. I wanted to be there with my children. I'd taught the kids at the store, I'd led classes on safety and training, so I decided to get a teaching certificate to teach in private schools, mostly creative, art-centered schools such as Montessori and Waldorf. It was important to me that they were in this environment that featured learning through story, music, art, and their imaginations. I wanted them to learn languages, handwork, gardening, woodwork, and living through the history of different world cultures instead of just reading about them in textbooks. These private schools emphasize feelings and emotions, and the teachers are empowered to modify learning for each child. This unique standard of education was what I wanted for all my kids, and I wanted to be there too. I had 3 children of my own and 3 foster kids. That adds up to a big tuition cost, but as a teacher, my children would get to go to the school where I taught for free or at a reduced rate. As a teacher, I felt like I got paid to have fun. I even started a tutoring program at my house, so I made a huge career shift from owning and operating stores to teaching, but I still showed up as myself. I was still me, using my capabilities and talents, and I was emotionally ready to make that shift. I wanted to have as much time with my children as I could and be involved in their lives. The fact that I was being paid to be near them and able to contribute to other kids made teaching a natural fit. I was doing life on my terms. I was still getting income from my investment building. I never felt like I worked for somebody else, even when I did, because I was showing up on purpose with a heart, a vision, and a reason. The bonus came when, because I was a teacher, we all had the entire summer off. We were on the same schedule, so I had the summer off. Christmas vacation, spring break. When I was running the store, I didn't take a vacation for 14 years. Now I had the income and time with my kids, so we could go play. We could travel. One summer, we went across the United States visiting all the historical sites. We would read about the Amish and then go see where they lived and learn even more. The culmination of our trip across the country was going to Epcot Center and feeling like we saw the rest of the world. We would study another culture and then go learn about it at Epcot. It wasn't all rides and Mickey Mouse at Disney World. Applying the Boots formula to lifestyle design. Using the Boots formula, you can go from being stuck, saying yes to everyone, to becoming the woman you want to be. Being. Designing your life starts with the first step. Who are you being? That is going to be different for everybody. And once you've done some assessments to find your temperament, talents, and truth, you can look at how you are different from anybody else. Who are you going to be when you show up now? Who do you need to be truly be the best version of yourself? How are you going to live your essence and truth? You may have a whole life set up around something that is not true to who you are. Now that you are redesigning your life, whether this is your difficult situation or you're doing so after making it through another rock bottom situation, the gift is being able to set a new foundation, but that means knowing who you're going to be. Orientation. With this orientation, you need to say, this is where I am, and this is what I want. What do you want your life to look like in a year? What do you want it to look like in 5 years? Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but they underestimate what can be done in 5 years. This is a complete lifestyle redesign. You're not just switching one thing or dealing with one emergency situation. You're reconfiguring every system in your life. Order of operations. The first step in the order of operations is to figure out your first priority. If you could just do one thing today that would make everything else easier and make you feel really happy, what would that be? Giving yourself the time you need to think about and do this one thing will make you feel like you took care of yourself, and your whole day will be better. Give yourself those little things, and they might be different each day. They build up, and when you consistently do the first thing you added, you can then add more things, and those build up too. Take it in order of priority. You may need to adjust your relationship or get out of a career that doesn't serve you. That takes time. You're not going to make this choice and then be in the exact life you desire the next day. There are steps in between. If you're not good at the steps, you may want to have somebody help you through that. You may be really great at seeing the vision, but you're not sure how to unravel all those pieces. Or you may be able to see little pieces, but you're not quite clear on the vision. You may need to give yourself a little bit more time than you think. If you make a 1-year plan and a 5-year plan, it may feel like nothing is changing at first. It's subtle. But once you start building, you get to a point where it gets easy. And the fact that you're not waiting to live your life on your terms is so beautiful and freeing and such a wonderful gift to yourself that you won't care if it does take 5 years to get the whole vision of what you want because you're already living it now. You're not giving that happiness to any other person, situation, or thing. It could be that you're in your career still, and you're going to switch over slowly, but how can you incorporate your true essence, talents, and truth in what you're doing today? Can you volunteer or start a side business so that you're actually having that happiness and fulfillment now instead of waiting for a future perfect moment in time? Thinking. Thinking is your mindset. It's setting your intention, and with that comes gratitude. If you're starting over and rebuilding, but your budget doesn't allow for the fancy house or new car that you want, or if you can't start your desired career tomorrow, how can you adjust your mindset and be grateful for what you do have? How can your way of thinking guide you to enjoy where you are now? Your environment matters. Not just the furniture and the decorations, but the energy that fills it. The energy, positive or negative, comes from the people around you, how the objects you surround yourself with make you feel, and the words and images you expose yourself to on the radio, television, and internet. How are you setting up your home? How are you setting up your environment? If you have stress in your office or home, what can you do to shift away from that negative energy? I went to the nail salon, and the news was blaring on the TV, full of war and death and horrible things. I don't want to be bombarded by that negative energy when I'm trying to relax. I know these things happen. I read the news and keep up with current events. But when I'm trying to rejuvenate and take care of myself, I don't want to see those vivid pictures that leave me feeling drained. I have friends, though, who love the news and can't work without it on. Where can you create a sanctuary in your home? Sometimes just removing the television from your bedroom switches the whole energy. It could be as simple as moving things around to create a sacred space in your house where you can have that thinking time to draw, journal, or write your life vision. You can design an intentional lifestyle that supports your individual rhythms. Once you see it and think it, start acting as if you already have it. You're going to live your best life today in gratitude. You're going to stop waiting to live. As you design your life, you're already in a better mindset. This is Sheila Mac. Thank you again for tuning in, and I have some homework for you. So go and get your copy of the new Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now on Amazon, Audible, Kindle, and all major bookstores. And get ready to tune in daily as I share the Business Leader Reboot. So that is starting a business, side business, or extra income. I don't care if you're starting from zero, rebooting, starting over completely. We are going to go through the steps over this year slowly together to rebuild, reboot, and reinvent your business and personal life, or your career and personal life on your terms. And I will also be sharing about investing in properties and how to get some passive income going this year as well. So stay tuned. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mac Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and I have some news for you. Yes, you. I'm celebrating my 3rd year now on the station, and will be expanding the show to a global network as well. You may now find the Sheila Mac Show on all major podcasting channels, and if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, all the episodes are now available for viewing there as well. And I'm asking you for a quick favor. If you like the show, please help support the spread of this reboot channel on YouTube as well. My goal is to help as many people as possible through our interesting times to rebuild, reinvent, and reboot your business and personal life. I also wanted to share a little bit more about how I got here, what I do now, and how designing a business, career, and life on your terms is more than possible at any age or stage in life. I am an enterprisingly forward-thinking consultant, show host, and best-selling author. But how did I get here? Well, I began my career as an entrepreneur and property investment strategist back when I was 23 years young, when I boldly quit my government job with NASA JPL to open my first of 5 large gift stores, while also starting to invest in property. I got to work with some of the world's most loved companies, such as negotiations on leases with Warner Brothers and winning trips to London as the top-selling Crabtree and Evelyn provider in the U.S. for multiple years. My stores were built on heart as I gave back to the community I came from. So now, some of you know this and some of you don't know this, but as a young girl with parents who were not well enough to care for me, I was homeless at age 10, then in foster care, where it was really hard to get a job while in the system. I finally emancipated at the age of 15 to start college early. While running my stores, I worked with a government program. Back then, it was called Job Training Partnership Act, making my stores an open source training site where close to 200 at-risk youth started their careers. Yes, I began my career helping business leaders and working professionals to design a life they love, where they can have success in their careers and get to the business of life. See, a funny thing happened along the way. When I first opened my gift store, it was kind of crazy because I was this young upstart. That's what a lot of the store owners called me. My first store was in Montrose, California, in this sweet little hometown shopping park.
with other stores and restaurants nearby. And so I was the young upstart that didn't know what she was doing. At least that's what everybody said. And I didn't really care what they said. At that age, their opinion was like, I don't really care. So that was probably a really good thing, because I stayed focused on what I needed to do. And I had negotiated to lease out a 5,000 square foot gift store that needed a lot of work, and I got free rent and for about 6 months, and I had to start making the rent, which was $5,000 a month, which was a lot of money back then, $1 a square foot. And so I had to learn and relearn. I finally did hire quite soon in the game. I did hire a marketing expert, branding expert, I guess back then. And that lady really helped me to figure things out when I first started. And when you first start a business, especially when you're young, it was like I had no idea what to do, but I needed to learn because my rent was going to start coming due every month. And over that time, I started having more success. I did crazy things, like stayed open until almost midnight every night, along with the restaurants who were very close to my store, while everybody else closed shop at about 5 or 6 p.m. So I was making more money from the start, and I just really, my store was to help my kids, and the products I sold was whatever the community wanted. I sold lots of things to people in the entertainment industry. I worked with cruise ships. I worked with many different people in the community. And later on, the store owners actually came to me and asked me if I would consult them and help them. I actually started buying my other buildings because I didn't like the idea of paying rent for years and years and years and not building equity. So I did get my real estate license through that and invested and bought my other 4 store buildings. And lots of the other store owners worked with me, paid me to consult and help them do what I was doing. And I didn't really even know it was called consulting. I just knew how to figure it out, I guess. And so that's how I started my career. And now, I raised 6 children, all that, and now they're grown. And so I get to come to work every day and do what I naturally do best as an enterprising and forward-thinking business leader. Through my show, courses, and live events, I guide entrepreneurs and working professionals like you through the profitable steps of building a business, creation to expansion, marketing from planning to implementation, wealth preservation through strategic planning and, yes, real estate investing, and lifestyle design so that you can earn more while getting back to the business of living your best life. So I do invite you to tune in here to KCAA Radio, and also I would really appreciate it if you went to my YouTube channel, SHEILAMACSHOW, and gave a subscribe and a listen to some of your favorite shows. And I do have some other exciting things, including a free gift to thank you. So if you go to www.sheilamac.com, that's SHEILAMAC, SHEILAMAC.com, there you can get a free gift to get started on your reboot. Tune in again right here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.